Today we're taking a look at a dive watch that may not be for everyone. This is a very loud, very bright dive watch that probably would never get used for actual diving. However, it does have the capability. This is a brand called Ubiq, UBIQ, and this is the Dual. And what they're trying to do is give you everything in one watch. Does it work? Let's flip the camera and take a look at the Dual from Ubiq. So this is called the Dual. This is from a brand called Ubiq, UBIQ. It's a little bit of a weird name, I will say. However, that's what they've called it, and it's a very colorful dive watch. It's kind of a do-it-all dive watch. You have a dual bezel, that's kind of where it's getting its name from. You have a dive counter on that bezel, and then you have a 12-hour count on that bezel so you could time things. It can track a second time zone. Obviously, it's not a GMT. It's powered by a 9015, which is a date version of the Miyota 9000 series. You do have a date on here, and it's very hard to see, which I like. It really does blend into the dial perfectly. And I think this is probably one of my favorite date windows. If you have to have a date window, this really does work. It could be a 9039 inside. It almost looks like there is no date, but I'll do a close up so you can see where the date is. It's at the 6 o'clock. That 6 o'clock position is not an index, it's actually a date. It completely replaces the 6 o'clock, and it's almost the same size as the other indices on the dial, so it does blend in really well. The only thing I would say is that they've color matched the font of the date to that bezel, so that green color. If they put it in black, it might be a little bit more legible, but other than that, I really love the date window. It was one of the first things that I noticed about this watch. The second thing you're going to notice immediately is that bezel. Now, they make other colors. The colors are very, very bright. There's an orange version of this watch that is extremely bright. This is the more toned down version. You have a gray dial. It's sort of a slate gray dial. You have applied indices. Those are filled with lume. They're kind of high off of the dial, which looks good. You have a broad sword hand for the hour hand. That is in green to match that inner ring of that bezel. And then the minute hand is a broad arrow, for lack of a better term. You have a lollipop on the second hand that is lumed. Of course, this is a dive watch with 200 meters of water resistance. You do have a screwed-in crown and a screwed-in case back. The case back is solid, so you do not get to see the movement. However, it is signed, and you do have, of course, the number of the limited edition, because this is a limited edition. I think each one of the colorways is limited to 100 pieces. I currently have this on the rubber strap. However, they have also included flat link bracelet. I'll show you this on the bracelet in just a second. However, I have to say the strap is really nice. It's perforated, but in a little bit of a different manner, I guess you could say. You do have a pretty solid buckle, which is signed. It's kind of generic, but it is signed. The knurling on the bezel and the crown is a little bit weird. It's shaped in sort of a U pattern, which looks good, or maybe a boomerang pattern, something like that. The only thing that I would say that I have noticed about this watch that is a little bit off are these cutouts. Now, I really like the look of the cutout. So the top portion of the cutout is polished, so that sort of edge that goes around the entire case. That happens on both sides of the watch. The only problem that I find is that it is pretty sharp. The edge is very, very sharp. The inside of that cutout is bead blasted, so it looks really good, but it is very, very sharp. They have said that they will be improving that for, obviously, the production versions. This is 000. This is a prototype, so they will be updating that, hopefully with a non-sharp edge, which that would be very, very good, because even when you're unscrewing and screwing in the crown, your finger will catch on that edge, and it is pretty sharp. The dial itself, like I mentioned before, is a gray dial. You have a minute track that's printed on in white. It just says the name of the brand, the name of the watch, Dual right there, and then below that it just gives you the water resistance. That's it, pretty simple. That bezel is in two different colors. The outer portion sort of creeps into that inner portion. You have a very large triangle at the top. The bezel is bi-directional and 60 click. So you could hear, it's not the best bezel action I've ever felt, but it is a bi-directional bezel, so that actually isn't all that bad, and it's 60 click, which obviously isn't great for action. However, for functionality, it does work really well. You do get a sapphire crystal, which is slightly raised off of the bezel, as you can see, and the bezel is made out of aluminum. And there it is on the bracelet. I believe the bracelet is around 20 millimeters. It goes down to around 16 millimeters. The case itself is around 39 millimeters. I measured 38.9 millimeters. It is around 11.5 millimeters thick. That's including that sapphire crystal. They said they might be getting it a little bit thinner. I'm not sure about that. However, if they do that, that would be great. 11.5 millimeters thick for a 200 meter dive watch really isn't all that bad. 47 millimeter lug to lug, not including the bracelet. Including the bracelet, it's around 49 millimeters, so it's around 47 and change on that rubber strap. The crown is around 6 millimeters. On my wrist today, I have the Bulova Lunar Pilot in titanium with a meteorite dial. I absolutely love this watch. I've been wearing a lot ever since I purchased it. And there is the Ubik Dual on my 7.5 inch wrist. Like I mentioned before, this is around a 39 millimeter watch with an around 11.5 millimeter thickness, 47 to 49 millimeter lug to lug. This is going to be priced at $519 on their Kickstarter. So currently on Kickstarter, they're making some improvements like I mentioned before. One of the improvements that I think they're going to be making, however, they haven't officially said they will be, is on the bracelet. So the bracelet does get a very generic buckle. They are saying that they're going to be putting something with micro adjust. I would like to see at $519 a little bit of micro adjust on this bracelet. This has manual micro adjust, so there's 6 positions or 5 positions. However, on the fly micro adjust would be very welcome. The bracelet is very nice. It is a flat link bracelet, and it is basically all brushed except for the sides, and I believe it is held together with screw pins. Well, there you go. Lume, not terrible. It's not incredible, but there is lume on the bezel and it does fade pretty quickly. However, it is fully lumed. All the indices on that bezel are fully lumed. The hands are fully lumed pretty nicely. And then of course the indices, which probably has the most lume. There is a little bit of lume on that lollipop for the second hand. It would have been cool if they lumed the date window on this watch. That would be just for aesthetics though, but I think it would look cool. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. $519 is a fair price for this watch. However, they do have to make some improvements, obviously, on the sides of the watch, which I think is probably the biggest flaw. They said that they're going to be correcting that. And then if they add micro adjust to the package, then you're getting a very good price for a very good watch. It is a good looking watch, very weird looking watch. And I kind of like that. I think it's a little bit different from the everyday micro brand watch that we constantly see. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.